He was an old school biker, man. I mean, he was, been on the club scene for 40, 50 years, came out of the Chicago set, back in the day. He was a Hell's Henchman, one of the original back there in Chicago back in the day. God, I know him longer than I know anybody in the club. He was just, a heart bigger than him, and he wasn't that big, but he had a a big heart on him. He always had a joke of the day. He could always make you smile. And even if he was in a pissed off mood, that guy would make you smile. And he was one of those that he could just he'd steal a woman's heart. Yeah, anybody he talked to. He came down here and visited me in Florida, and I'm a house down here in Florida is in a 55 plus community, and he's walking around my street talking to some of the old senior citizens there and getting them to chuckle and titter. Hey, Pops is a guy's got good and bad tattoos all up and down his arms, and he lived and looked the part, and he just made people warm up to him. He was one of the hardest riding guys I know. But I tell you what, he fell and hit his head, more times than than I can remember. But just a genuine, one of a kind individual, man. The club's kind of reeling right now. He'd been fighting an illness for about a year, a little more than that. So it was kind of expected. He had lived a lot longer than a lot of people had thought. But still, when you lose one of the good ones like that, it really hits home. It's quite tough.
That brings
I'm sorry for your loss, Tank. I didn't know
Thanks,
that. Man.
Dave.
Yeah.
Thanks,
that brings me to the conversation at hand, and you said it yourself just now about Pops, that he had a heart bigger than himself. What do you think sets us apart from the regular citizenship as motorcycle enthusiasts, bikers, whatever you want to call us? What sets us apart? How did you form that special connection with helping out those that are weaker, that might have been bullied? Hey, I can say we can all go back to high school, and I probably can guarantee we were the ones that told the bullies, leave these kids, leave this one alone.
Yeah, I mean, I can go back to grade school and tell you stories about that. I was always that guy that, the kid that was, getting bullied on, the one, I'd be like, take him aside, like, what the hell are you dressing like this for? Come on, you're just going to invite it in there and bring it on. But I was always the guy that was championing him, that kid that's getting his books kicked out from underneath his arms, and I was that one that was stepping in. Just, a lot of the different crap that you see in school and some of the inner city stuff. And, bikers, they're not worried about the law so much as worried about what's right and wrong.
And does that right and wrong, is it something instilled not only from the parents, but life experiences as you're growing up?
I've known some of the biggest pieces of crap parents in the world that have raised some fantastic kids. I think it's comes from the individual, and it's based on your own moral character. And a lot of the life experiences that come at you and what's formed you and made you who you are, what you choose to be. And, do you choose to be a victim, or do you choose to rise above it? And a lot of bikers I know are like that. They're not the victim. They refuse to play that. They're the ones who are going to stand up. My wife cringes, man. She will be in, somebody will be in a supermarket line or something, and they're giving the cashier crap, and and I'm like, the guy, like, hey man, why don't you shut up and leave her alone? She didn't do none of this to you. And then she's like, hon, I don't know. I just, I'm the guy that's going to say something.
Well, that is a perfect example. We don't care when we speak up. We speak up because most of the time we're right when we do speak up. Why do you find others are kind of scared to do that?
Is this me again? Okay.
Yeah, I'm spending some time with you right now. Then we'll go to Danny, and then we'll go to Wild On.
So, what was the question again?
Why do you think others have that fear of standing up for themselves?
They're weak. My dad was an easy man. He raised my older brother and I especially to be men first. And he started instilling that from from as early as I can remember. My dad wasn't the best dad, but he wasn't the worst either, and he had a hard time living by his own words sometimes. But boy, you could certainly live by his example that he set. And the type of person that he was, and so he always told me, being a Navy man, son, you've got to learn to stand tall before the man. And so when you've done something, you own up to it. When it's your time to take responsibility, you do it. When it's your time to be in trouble, well, you stand there and you take it. You don't lie. You be a man first. And there's a lot of guys out there that don't want to be a man. And we all see him in the minivan. That guy in the minivan, a little SUV, looking across at you in traffic as you're sitting out there on your machine. And he's just wishing he could be you. You know what I'm talking about.
So
Yeah.
There's Hollywood with a minivan.
Right?
Yeah.
Accepting personal responsibility is huge. Do you find it now, especially in modern times, that's something that's lost on a lot of people?
Boy, it seems to be. The social media aspect has really changed a lot of things. I've been saying it for years. I call it the pussification of the American male. And they're able to get on these computers and on these social devices, and they're doing all that stuff when they wouldn't be doing the jaw jacket in public because they're not going to do the face to face. But boy, you get them behind a keyboard, and it's another thing entirely. And
Yeah.
and that loss of oral interface, you know what I mean, has changed things, and it's degraded, and it's allowed people to be degraded, and it allows them to stand behind a screen and not have to own up to their own words, their own actions, their own responsibilities.
I think another thing is too with people like that is they forget that on social media platforms you're showing your face. That being said, there's some of us out here that got a photographic memory for someone we really want to punch in the face. So they may want to think about all that keyboard tough guy stuff because your ass can get checked in the Walmart checkout line. I've seen it happen. Let's just say that.
There's scammers everywhere, D-Lo, but they ain't in all places.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
What do you
right.
think Tank draws that? You know what? What do you think the personality, if you could sum it up in a few words or a couple bullet points, would be the biker thought process? And why do you think that thought process draws them into the motorcycling community?
Bullet pointed, huh? Well, I mean, first of all, when you're going to make a statement, say what you mean what you say, and back your own words up. So be a man. And if you said it, don't back off on it and start backtracking and eating those words. You said it, you meant to say it, it came out. Be a man. Be a man first.
Boy, I hope a couple people are listening.
Yeah. Oh God, a couple
Right
million.
here,
A couple million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, smite with right. Like I said, it's not about what's legal. You know what I mean? It's about what's right, what's morally right. And bikers aren't necessarily worried about the law. I mean, look at it. There's 70,000 pages of laws in this country, for crying out loud. And every single one of us is a scofflaw in the respect that we can't follow all those laws all the time. And I look at it this way. A lot of those laws were written when I wasn't around. So I don't know if I necessarily have to abide by them. Now, I mean, does that mean I want to fly low under the radar? Hell yeah. But does that mean that I'm going to let that dictate whether or not I speak my mind or stand up for somebody when the time is right? No, that's not going to change things.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, I want to circle around back to Pops. What did he teach you, not as a biker, but as a person? How to be a better person?
Be more accepting, to calm down, laugh and love a lot more. There's you're always going to have time to get riled up over something. But but Pops is just like none of that's going to matter tomorrow. Let's deal with it right now and today. I mean, and all you're doing is when you're getting mad over some BS that's going on in the world, all you're doing is just taking away from your own quality of life, man. And you just gotta think, is this worth my time? Is this worth my time? Me taking years off my life by getting all mad over something that I got no control over anyway. Attitude is everything, man. I mean, there's 90%, 10% what happens to you in life and 90% how you react to it. And that's what Pops taught me.
That is beautiful, man. Those old guys,
Right on.
Vietnam era generation, man, did they just think different?
Yeah.
And it was awesome to be able to learn from them type of guys. BIC is well known in this area for doing huge amounts of community service. I think it's actually, from my understanding, the backbone of your club and your purpose is to do community service.
Oh, most definitely.
How does it make you feel or give you incentive to participate in a club that is so community focused?
Well, Chop, God rest his soul. He died earlier, last year, in August of last year. Used to say, he'd get mad at some of the brothers who didn't want to necessarily put in the time into charity. He used to say all the time, man, charity hurts. Meaning you got to give it yourself. I mean, we signed on to the club to be able to help the community out and help those in need. And I think that's kind of a whole biker mentality. I mean, bikers give to more charities than people realize. Your everyday, work-a-day biker, white-collar guy, I mean blue-collar guy that's out there on the weekend, he's going to a biker event, and the guy's going to throw a $100 bill in his pocket knowing that he's going to be spending all that. I have yet to see, 9 times out of 10, if I see somebody win a 50-50 raffle at a charity event, they're giving the money back to the charity because, you were going to spend the money anyway, I mean, just put it back in the pot. Now, BIC, we do a lot in the community. Our big run, as we've talked about before, the strip poker run, where we give back to the Rock County Domestic Survivor Center, Violent Survivor Center. We've been doing that for a while. We've also got our annual toy drive that we do, where we take on, collect toys, collect a lot of money, and we take on 4 families every year, and they provide us a wish list. And we go out and make Christmas happen for them. And then we've got all the other toys and donations. We provide those to the Rock County Community Action Center. We've done food drives. We've had people come up and we'll find out about an individual family that maybe had a fire in the house or a biker down and they need some help. And we've at a drop of a hat, okay, we got 3 weeks to plan this. Let's do it. And then we'll, get in there and say, we got $4,000 or $5,000 to be able to help them out with medical bills or whatever they've got going on. One of the things too, this is many years ago. We had the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and a group of bikers from some men's organization, like the Lions Club, but it wasn't the Lions Club, but they had said that they were going to make some kid's day. And promised to the Make-A-Wish Foundation that this, they were going to go and he wanted to see some bikers pull up his street. That's all he wanted to see before he died. He had, a debilitating brain illness. It was chronic. It wasn't going away. And it was on a Sunday afternoon. I'm in the middle of afternoon dinner, and we get a phone call. Make-A-Wish Foundation had called us. And they said, hey, man, these guys backed out at the last minute. This is this kid's opportunity. Next week, he's flying to Hawaii for part of his Make-A-Wish thing. We don't have any other opportunity to do this. Can you guys show up and make his day? And hell yeah. I mean, I was, in the middle. I pushed the food away from me, got in touch with a bunch of guys from the club. We reconnoitered at the clubhouse. Boom, suddenly we're out there in Orfordville, Wisconsin, pulling up to the kid's house and, letting him know when he's coming in and flying in. And, boy, the smile on his face came out. He took pictures on all of our bikes. And I'll never forget it. I had one of my rings that was on this finger, and it was "Live to Ride, Ride to Live." I had it for years, and I took it off and gave it to him. And I said, "Here you go, my man. This is from Tank. You hold on to this." And must have been about 2 years later, I ran into his mom, and his mom said, that ring meant so much to him when you gave it off your finger to him. And she said, we buried him with it on his
Wow.
hand. And I was like, wow, I just got goosebumps telling that story again. So, why do we do what we do, man? Because we can, because we can give back to the community. And, altruism, is a good thing. Giving back and giving of yourself to help your community is a good thing. And I've always been a big one to show bikers in the best possible light we can get, because what's the old saying there? When we do good, nobody cares. When we do wrong, nobody forgets.
Right.
And it's just part of BIC is what we do. That's who we are, man.
Before I go around the table to Carlos asking why are we such drawn to causes with kids like BACA, with Bikers Against Child Abuse, women's shelters, talk about Zach.
Zach, oh man, yeah, Zach. That was Zach Olson ride. That was a big one. His mom got in touch with us, and she said that he wanted, one of his wishes when he died was that he wanted a biker. He wanted bikers to be part of his funeral procession, and she said, "Well, how about we do bikers while you're still alive?" And the BIC sort of came in on the tail end to help kind of organize the ride. It was organized by a good friend of mine. He's down here in Florida now, but he was an independent that did a lot of the original groundwork. And this was in March, like 40 degrees out. We had bikers come from like 5, 6 states. We had guys ride in. I mean, clubs. There was almost 800 people there. We started out at Happy Hollow, and we ended up over at the table in Afton. Now they're only about a little less than 2 miles away, but we had so many bikers that by the time the pack got to Afton, they were still leaving the parking lot at the other place. So we had that
That's
many come
awesome.
in, and Zach was out there in his wheelchair to check it all out. And we made his day. Like some of the guys, they had vests for him. Some of these clubs that came in, the outpouring of people that showed up to this has been phenomenal. And we since now, that was 3 years ago, we've hosted that event the past 2 years. It's actually one of the events that I headed last year, this past year, and then the year before. Chop and I both did it together, and Miranda, his mom, she's still keeping it going strong. He wants Zach's last wishes were that he wanted that every year when they did this event to raise money, and then there was a different cause that would be able to help out. First year, I think it was the Badger Cancer Network, Children's Cancer Network, that was the beneficiary of, and we still get a lot of bikers that show up to it. In fact, I one of the things I did is I make a custom fishing rod to auction off every year for it, and we got guys looking for it now. I mean, that alone raises several $100s right there. So,
Oh, that is beautiful, man.
That's
yeah,
very
I'm gonna
cool.
go around the table right now, and when we get back to you, Tank, I really love your new platform ideal of including everybody, independent, whatever it may be, in your new podcast. So when we get back, we'll talk about that. Carlos, why do you think bikers are so very tight or drawn to a lot of kids charities, a lot of kids causes?
I mean, it could be for certain reasons. Luckily, I mean, I had my dad around, but a lot of my friends growing up, I saw what they went through, not having that father figure around. Myself, I don't have like my own child. My old lady's daughter, I love her to death, like my own. But a lot of times, I always wanted to. Each time I see kids like for adoption that need help, they're put in situations that's not their fault, right? These kids are innocent from birth. put in situations, grew up really, really quick. I grew up really quick myself. I lived on my own through high school as a sophomore in Miami. So I lived by myself for a while, and I grew up pretty quick. And I know a lot of children that grew up, never had a childhood. And there's groups like Guardian of the Children here in San Antonio do a fantastic job. I mean, you have all these. When I talk about motorcycle clubs, that's the clubs I like thinking about. And I want the majority of these people on YouTube and out there to watch. There's thousands of clubs and do great things like Tank and his clubs do. Great stories. And I don't know if it has to do with background, but back to the content of being a man. You don't have to be tough to be a man. You don't have to be strong to be a man. You don't have to be beating everybody up to be a man. To be a man is to be brave enough to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves and what you think is right. Just because it's law, I don't believe it's right sometimes. And I'll stand up for something I believe in. And if it's something, it's just like Tank says, I'm the guy also at the grocery store. Someone's talking loud to a worker, I step right in. A lot of people nowadays are scared. They're all talk, no bark. And you see that a lot. And then when someone stands up to them, they get quiet. So I see myself as just a natural instinct. I don't try to look for trouble, but that's the person I am myself, especially with children. If kids are involved, I love hearing stories like this, watching the Guardian of the Children. I mean, those are things I really enjoy, and it's a big subject to me itself. But I think it's just something ingrained in ourselves. And I don't know if it's because we're still young boys in mind, but I was the same way too. And at school, when the bullies, I used to jump in with the kids and protect the kids that were getting bullied. And so it's just something I myself relate to, and it's hard to really pinpoint it. And I don't want to be pointing at people's backgrounds because of the way they got brought up. But for some reason, I mean, I just think, like Tank says, just being a man, what my dad taught me coming up was responsibility of being a man. And that just has to be with, like they say, the saying about Superman. Superman was not brave, right? Because he was indestructible, other than the kryptonite. But to be brave, you can have fear, you can be scared. But if you stand your ground and speak up for what you believe in, that becomes a man on my side.
Right. Danny, kids are taught by TV and Hollywood movies that they should be looking up to actors, or they should be looking up to singers. But a lot of them you'll find looking up to a biker. What does a biker have that these other ones don't?
I think the main thing is we're real. You know what I mean? We're not acting. We are being ourselves. Bikers as a whole, for the most part, nowadays it's it's a little different, but for the most part, bikers, we live our lives with integrity and honor and respect. You know, and we've all been bullied one way or another, whether it was by cops in high school and grammar school or whatever. So we've been bullied in some type of way, even by other clubs. So that being said, we understand how it feels to be bullied. So if we see somebody bullying a kid or a woman or another man, naturally, because we live our lives with integrity and we're just real people, we can't help ourselves. We stand up for people. You know what I mean? And I think that's why kids and even adults, even grown ass men, look up to us because we live our lives real. You know what I'm saying? We don't sugarcoat it. We don't BS it. And we're willing to go that extra mile that most people aren't willing to go. You know,
Mhm.
whether it's to protect somebody or not. I mean, like, I guarantee you, like everybody on the show right here, and I would like to think damn near anybody listening that's a bike period, if we saw somebody hurting a child, I don't think about I'm going to jail. You know what I'm saying? That's not even a thought. Like, even while I'm in jail, I don't care. I know I protected that kid, and I'm willing to go to whatever level it takes to protect that child, that woman, that person. It's just, I don't know. It's always kind of just been ingrained in us, I think, man. I don't know how or why, but we just naturally defend people. It's just what we do. We are like, we're almost like a second National Guard in America. You know what I mean?
Right. Tank. I wish I could have had BACA on here today. I didn't catch him quick enough. But seeing some of their commercials or their stories come out of how they are helping these battered families from some evil people, in my opinion. How's it feel to see that kid smile and how they attach to that biker group or the representatives from that biker group?
Hard to describe, I mean, it just gets a warm feeling in your heart. I mean, we've got two of our members are from BACA. We've got another prospect right now who's from BACA. So that's the type of guys that we attract as well. I mean, altruism is a cool thing. It really is. And giving of yourself is free. I just want to add on to what Danny D'Lo was just saying. When you're in that situation, I've had people say to me before, you can't do that. I'll call cops on you. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? That's my business. Don't you worry about that. I'll worry about it.
Right. And 9 times out of 10, depending on the situation, the cops ain't gonna do nothing about it because they agree with you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's usually the situation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now BIC, do they do something with battered women shelter you mentioned?
Yeah, the Beloit Domestic Violence Survivor Center. And so that's what our proceeds go to. All the proceeds we take in from our strip poker run every year go to help out that. It's amazing to me because, that shelter in Beloit, what people don't realize is the families, the women and the kids that are referred to be into that shelter have to be referred from the emergency room. And there's a big gap of people out there that aren't necessarily in bad situations. They've been abused, but they're not necessarily in the emergency room. And so there's that whole gray area gap that's got to be filled. One of the things I was part of this past summer after Chop died, one of the last projects Chop was working on, Chop was killed. One of the last projects he was working on that I kind of took on myself was that we were looking to provide services for people to fill that gap, that gray area. And so we got in with a couple of people that donated some things and helped raise some money. And we raised money and then went out and bought, we got a discount on hotel vouchers. So we got hotel vouchers for them so they can get in there if they, and then food cards from a local supermarket, and then some Wendy's gifts cards. So if they needed some food right then and there, be able to eat right then and there. And these were for the people that needed to get into the shelter. They weren't being referred to from an emergency room situation, but they needed help right away. Because let's face it, that stuff doesn't happen on a Tuesday night. It always seems to happen on that Friday night, that Saturday night, on weekends when a lot of those services aren't open. And so, that's a lot of time to have to wait for some local authority to come into play and open up back up again on Monday morning. And so
Usually happens after the Packers lose.
Whoa. Hold on here now. Hold on.
Well, I had a tough loss today with my Bucks, man. So.
Wow. And you had to go there, D'Lo. All right? Right there, D'Lo. Right there.
I might be from Chicago, but I live right up the road from you.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
I live right up the road from you. I see it, man. I've seen these poor women getting beat all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Wild on Twos. There's been in recent years a lot of groups that have popped up, like Bikers Against Bullies, or BACA or Guardians of the Children. Where do you think the shift came from, where these groups have become so strong and representative of the good that's in the biker scene?
Well, for past years, the scene has been changing for a lot of people, meaning in feeling some type of worth, something like we all want something bigger than ourselves. And same for me. I'm a huge dog lover. I actually wanted to do something like BACA, right? Bikers Against Dog Abusers. And I see a lot of people doing that because that's a real purpose. That when we say our priorities and for our club, those are issues that people will do anything for. And it gives people a rhyme or reason to do rather than some clubs that might just bar hop. I see that there's a lot of people in clubs that they're in a club and maybe they don't get what they thought they were going to get. And that, for me, that would be huge. I mean, I'll love to be part of something like that. And to me, that's like something I'll do without being in the club. I help out. During Christmas, I do giveaways, fundraisers, anything I can do. That's just me. And I just think it's just the way that the club scene has changed and things are popping off in regards to the types of members. I think it's just something more worth for most of the bikers, and it's a great cause for them. I mean, it's a huge, great cause. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't speak up for these children, for animals, or victims that we need. People like talking about it and donating online all they want, but no one's there in the forefront. No one goes to the courthouse to look those guys or whoever the abusers are in the eyes and let them know and let the kids know that, hey, we're here with you. They're not going to touch you. They're not, these kids are scared. And yeah, it's nice to donate $5 through envelope or something. I'd rather donate my time to be there in person for those kids. And that's just, like I said, that's just me. That's my belief in that.
One thing
Well,
that Tank said, Danny, that really hit it with this whole charity thing was when there are 50-50s, it always goes back into the pot. Always. And I think that it exemplifies a biker's heart or a motorcycle enthusiast's heart.
mhm.
Where do you think we're going to differ as far as, because bikers give and give and give hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to a whole wide range of charities, but
Right.
they carry this stigma with them. Has that stigma been going away in recent years?
Um, yes and no. You know, I see a lot more people being more friendly towards us, but there's certain things that are just never going to change, and I don't even think I need to say what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Um, I don't want to go there, but as far as people in general, I'd say nowadays, because being a biker, it used to be something kind of sacred. It used to be kind of we had our own world, and now for whatever reasons we've got so many newcomers to the biker scene. It's kind of opened up everybody's eyes that we're not all bad. You know what I mean? But no matter what, you still gonna have people that all their bikers are bad people. Ooh, they got patches on. They're scary big bad guys. And I mean, we can give the charity all we want. We can do all these wonderful things that we all know that we do, but it's not always going to change everybody's minds on us. You know what I mean?
Right. I want to shift gears here. That first segment was Bikers Always Protect the Weak. And the second segment, I want to talk to Tank for a second here. You got a new platform. Well, it seems like a new platform, new push, where you're going to be all inclusive. And I think that's a beautiful idea because most of us have a niche and stuff like that. But you're going out on the limb to include everybody. Can you tell us about that? And by the way, how was what's her name? She came down to see you in Florida, didn't she?
Oh, that little lady! I got to tell you, anybody who's seen Megan from Meg's Motorcycle Journey, that camera does not do that little lady justice, let me tell you.
I
And
bet.
not only is she a nice looking lady, she is probably one of the coolest chicks I have ever met. Coolest chicks I ever met. It was a real good time. We lucked out, man. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, 80 degrees, sunny, and it was just basically Megan, myself, and then cameraman Michael Motorcycle, who the three of us just kind of palling around in Bradenton. I met him up on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, and we just kind of rode around and had some lunch and rode around and just enjoyed each other's company, shot the shit, had a good time. She did the token handstand that she's known for, you know. But I mean, just what a down to earth lady she really is. She's an entrepreneur. She's got her own law firm. I mean, she's just not a pretty thing to look at. I mean, that's one formidable little woman. And I'll tell you what, she can ride. She can
That's
ride.
awesome.
Nice.
But,
What's her name again?
Megan from Meg's Motorcycle Journey. You should really check her out. She's
Yeah.
big on Instagram and big on YouTube too. But getting back to the platform, Hollywood, you've been with us from the start. You were the ones that actually pushed us to start this journey, and we've grown organically. I mean, Dirty and I, we've tried to stay true to ourselves this whole journey we've been on. We've been basically just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. We did it with the Facebook page, and we grew that from 1,000 people up to over 65,000. And then now, here we are doing it with the podcast, kind of the same thing, growing organically. 2 years ago, we were struggling to come up with content. We're struggling with who are we going to talk to. We started interviewing our friends. We would just get together and just kind of, shoot the shit between each other. And then I tell you what, now we're booked. We're booked out a month at a time here now, and we've got people contacting us to come on the show, and we're trying to get and talk to other people on platforms. We've had you on a couple of times, and some independents. A little project I've been working on right now. I've been working with a group called the West Coast Florida Riders, which is a big social media group. Probably about 6,500 people on their social media page, but they just get together and just have some fun and do some rides. And so I followed them to a little biker party today, and boy, they made me feel right at home. They're pressing boobs up into my camera, and just having a high old time. I'm going to be riding with them next Friday down to a bike night down in Northport, and then we're going to get the founder, a guy named Lee Hagood, on for a formal interview, and so we can talk about that because those independents outnumber the patch members by a substantial amount. And
yeah, they do.
They do, and you said it yourself. I mean, it's there's bikers, there's motorcycle enthusiasts, but this world has a lot of different people on it, and that's what Dirty and I want to do is we want to give everybody their due and let them talk about their form of their biker lifestyle. So we're trying to push more content out. If you've noticed, we probably had stuff come out every other day, just little videos, vignettes, things like that. And that's our intention is to have the formal show where we still do, an hour show a week, but then have these little 3-minute, 4-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute segments. Dirty's got some stuff he was doing. He did a little thing on concealed carry the other day. Anytime we're going to fix a motorcycle, we're probably going to get in with the camera for about 5 minutes and show what we're doing. I kind of kicked myself about a month ago. The bike I've got down here is a Victory, and as we know, the Victory brand is not anymore. And so those bikes are worth more as parts than they are as a whole bike.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I ran into is I needed a rear brake line. And I'm like, it's just a brake line. I'm not going to worry about it. And then I went and priced them out, and I'm like, suck my what? It was $250 for a little 18-inch brake line about that big. And it wasn't even paying the price. It was even trying to find one. And,
hey, Tank, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you ever need parts, hit me up. I've got a Victory guy here in Lake Geneva.
All right,
and
cool.
and he's usually got really good lines and hookups for everything. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say before I forgot.
And what I did was I was like, well, I think I can fix this thing for about $35. And so I made my own brake line for it. Went in there with a double flare tool and, cut the thing. I'm laying under the bike, and double flared the end out and got some auto parts and pumped it together and got my own brake line run up to it. Boy, I tell you what, I've been running strong on that ever since. Kind of wish I had a camera on me at that point in time to kind of
Yeah, that would have been
was
cool.
an awesome
you
video
did.
right there.
show the whole thing. So that's kind of the direction we're taking it in. And, we're just still throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks, man.
Well, I think that's
That's
a
awesome.
phenomenal idea that you're doing, because that is setting you apart from the rest. Because some are, protocol channels. I got the news channel. The news. I went to the whole scene instead of the club stuff, because quite frankly, it gets depressing sometimes. But
You're telling me.
but I think it's real important for having the Biker Lifestyle podcast, because you guys are down the earth. You're actually guys that I remember from my old club scene. It was, you didn't care, you were having fun, you were partying, you had tits everywhere. Where now it's a little more PC for my taste, but you guys actually
You owe
remind me.
$20 to the swear jar.
Right.
Well,
There you go.
if you remember, Hollywood, it came out during the first podcast we had with you on that you and I had actually met
Right.
years ago before I was ever in the club. When I was with Abate, you had that bar there in that
In
tiny
Orfordville.
town in Orfordville, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one I turned into a swingers club upstairs. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Cops
But,
didn't like me too much.
they don't like-
When I had the boys
like
over
anybody
there, they wanted to close me down and stuff. Anyway, but I congratulate you and Dirty on that. That's just a fantastic freaking idea.
Yeah,
And I
awesome
look
job,
forward
guys.
to the interviews, man. I really do, because I sit there, I watch, and now all we have to do is get these Roco people over to your damn YouTube channel. Cross-platform sucks.
Yeah, you look where we were 2 years ago and where we are now. It's going to grow organically, and I think that's the best. And definitely the quality of videos we're putting out there is much better. Our work is
Right.
more consistent, and actually, we don't have any copyright issues anymore. So maybe Denmark will start playing.
Yeah.
Right.
We were
Carlo,
banned,
I mean, you were banned in Denmark?
we were banned in Denmark and the Netherlands. Yeah, we
They
had
too
to laugh.
high anyway.
Yeah,
Carlos, wild on tubes.
Whatever you want to call me.
How is it important as a creator that we're in this, that we start diversifying and telling the whole story instead of just concentrating on MC stuff?
Huge. I mean, like I said, if you see any rally, any bike event, all the money that goes, but 99% of the money that goes to these events that people pour in there are independents, motorcycle enthusiasts, and you have to diversify yourselves in general. It opens the eyes. Like, trust me, there's more people that I think the more we're doing the shows like this, I've been noticing more different viewers, and they always get an email here and there that they see us more like human. That's why I made that video about that bikers are human too, right? Some people that never ridden motorcycles before now are trying out ride motorcycles. My whole thing was originally I like seeing growth, not just the motorcycle scene, but also motorcycles in general. Going back to riding motorcycles, and it keeps things good for us in general. But I mean, I just think it's huge. I mean, a majority of the bikers or motorcycle enthusiasts, whatever you want to say, like there's so many avenues that it's not just what people stereotype us as. So, I mean, I just like opening up, and I think it's the biggest thing you can do, especially for Tank, opening things up for everybody, because now you're just not stuck to this little cube, a little box. And then most people are going to always see, if you just do MC stuff, they're always going to see you as the MC guy. You make a topic that's a badass topic on something else, you're not going to get much eyes on it. And you guys have some great things that you want to put out to a lot of people. So,
Oh, they're doing freaking perfect.
yeah.
This is for Tank and Danny. Danny, you can go first. Motorcycle enthusiasts always are laughed at, and in my opinion, they shouldn't be, because that's the bulk of the lifestyle, especially if you go back in time where, the manufacturers started their riding clubs. I'm talking all the way in the biggie and to sell their bikes. You know, a lot of people bash on AMAers, and there's some hardcore freaking AMA clubs out there, by the way. What aren't those people getting? What are, do they feel like they got to pump themselves up by, just using terminology? What are they not getting about a motorcycle enthusiast?
I'm sure all of us have been in clubhouses and be standing outside, and you see a group of hog riders or something, and they ride past, and you hear these yahoos talking that BS, oh, look at the wannabes, wannabe bikers, blah, 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 And to be really honest, the wannabe bikers now, in my eyes, are the club guys, because the independent riders, hog chapters, whatever, they're riding their freaking motorcycles. They're out having fun with their brothers. They're out riding their motorcycles. They're going to different events. They're having a good time. And, especially the new school guys, they don't really give two shits about what anybody really thinks of them, especially a club guy, because they just don't care. They're having fun. They're doing their thing. So honestly, I almost kind of feel like it's almost jealousy in a way. The club guys, they don't ride their motorcycles much, and when they do, they're riding to another state, and they're at a party, and rah rah rah, yeah, we're
It's
here,
forced.
and and then you turn around and you ride back. How many club guys do we know in the club world? I mean, honestly, that just get on their bike on a Sunday with a couple of their bros with no colors on and just go take a cruise, man. Go get lost. I mean, those were the true values of being a biker. It wasn't about wearing a patch. It was about riding your bike with your brothers and having a good time and not caring what society thought of us. That's what it was always supposed to be about. And to most of us old school guys, that's still what it's about. We some of us, me in Hollywood especially, we kind of got sucked into a certain lifestyle because it was just normal to us, and we got comfortable with that. Honestly, it's I can't not call it the way it is. It's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We got sucked into the bullshit, thinking that this is what being a biker is about: going to a bar, sticking our chests out, and letting everybody know we're here. Meanwhile, you're watching motorcycle, 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 roam, roam, roam. Everybody's riding past you, and you're still standing stagnant in the same spot. But those guys are fake. Are you sure? You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's just the way I see it, man. And I've watched for years. You see, I say hog riders, but I mean there's so many different other groups out there. You know what I mean? Um, I've watched them, and I'm like, those are the true bikers in my eyes nowadays. There's such a big line between being a biker now and you're just in a motorcycle club. You know what I mean? There's a
Right.
difference now.
Tank, how are you and Dirty? How are you going to go about getting the motorcycle enthusiast side out to the public?
Well, we've kind of been doing it up till now, anyway. Um, can I address kind of what D'Lo was just talking about?
Yeah, you got the floor.
Go right ahead, man.
You go around
And
the
it
table.
detoes.
And I'm thinking, I get where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying. What we're talking about are some generalities. We're generalizing here. I know a lot of guys who are not in clubs that are probably some of the hardest riding people that I know. I know a lot of guys that are in clubs that are some of the hardest riding people I know. I know a lot of guys in my club are some of the hardest riding people that I know, myself included. I ride every day. Like I ride my bike back and forth between Wisconsin and Florida. like you talk about getting together and just going off to ride. I mean, you've just described half the people in my club and a lot of the people that aren't in clubs that I know in the Wisconsin area. So I mean, in terms of guys that aren't in clubs or guys that are in clubs, there's clowns everywhere. There's clowns in clubs. There's clowns that are not in clubs. You stand at any biker bar on any Sunday afternoon, and you're gonna be able to cartoon on anybody as they come up. There's those guys that you'll look at him and go, I bet he's got the Harley socks. That's probably that guy who's probably got the bike in there. He's owned it for 12 years, and it's got 8,000 miles on it. You know the guy I'm talking about, man.
Oh yeah, we've all seen him.
So I mean, I get what you're saying, but I mean, you're generalizing, and so just to
Well,
put that all back on,
I'm saying what I'm saying is it's not all clubs. I mean, if
and say that
if club guys want to get butthurt, that's on them. I don't really care. Facts are facts. I mean, I'm talking the
Right.
vast majority. Well, yeah, I know there's clubs like your club, and every club's got the hardcore riders. You know what I'm saying? But if you got 30 guys in your club and only 3 of you really ride like the way you ride, like Florida back and all that, I mean, am I really wrong? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that you're generalizing. That's what I was saying.
I'm just...
Here's a question for the whole table, and start with you, Tank. How can we start highlighting women riders in our content, like Meg?
You got to just get up and talk to them, and also we have to show them some respect. There's a girl that she's in that. It's not leather and lace, but there's another women's riding club that's in the Wisconsin area. They're all over America, and this
Ain't there stilettos too?
Stilettos on Steel. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
in
that's
fact,
what I thought.
we had that club on the show, and this little lady can ride, man. She can ride.
You have co-ed clubs, LAMA, right? Latin America Motorcycle Association. Here in San Antonio, the president of San Antonio chapter is a woman. I never met her in person, but I seen her, and she's bad. I mean, they look badass. I mean, she knows her shit, and that's a hell of a motorcycle association. So that's
got to be a hell of a church.
Well, I'm not talking about I'm talking about the individual female rider, because they've become, I think, about 10% now, where it used to be the only thing seen was a butcher or something in the 90s. But they have really started to drive.
It's the largest growth segment in motorcycling as we stand right now.
Yeah,
our new female
riders. They're not just riding the little Sportsters and shit. I mean, they're on road glides, street glides.
Yes, sir.
The Victories and all that. That's why I did the woman biker video that I just put out this morning. I was like, we talk about all this stuff. Well, I should say I talk about this and that. But like, there's not a lot of guys out here that are doing what we do that are really giving the credit towards the women. I mean, they've come a long way. They've gotten their independence in the biker world, and they're riding their own motorcycles, and I mean, shit, like we just mentioned stiletto on steel or whatever. I've met a few of them girls, and they're freaking awesome. I even told a story in my video this morning. I was out riding one night, and I got caught at a red light. This chick pulled up next to me on a badass road glide. We started talking. We pulled over. We talked for a few minutes. She's like, hey, why don't you come down to the clubhouse? And I'm like, what clubhouse? And I'm not going to say what club it was, but she told me what club. And I went, we rode out to Milwaukee together. And I hung out with these chicks, man. And it was like 15 chicks and me. And, every guy's dream, right? But I had a blast, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't feel no different hanging out with them than I would with a group of dudes. You know what I'm saying? They were cool. They were down. We talked about life. They were cool as hell, man. So I think the women rider nowadays deserves a lot more credit than they get,
Why do you think, Carlos, that women riders get so much hostility?
Well, it's just, I don't know. I just think it's just something something brought up from years ago, that people treated women like they weren't as smart as men. couldn't run businesses like men, can't ride like. It's always. I mean, they're their own people. There is a women's motorcycle club that was riding with a big 1% club in California back in the day, and got a lot of respect from that club. And I think there's a lot of jealousy and that machismo thing that they think that women can't do anything better than them for some reason.
Yeah, it's a dominance thing.
It's a dominance thing, and I've seen a lot of women. Trust me, down here in Texas, in the hill country, we got the Twisted Sisters, and I see these ladies on road glides just taking these turns, starting flying, and the guy behind him is like, just nervous, shaking. And I'm stuck behind that guy, right? I mean, it's just a stereotype, just like people stereotype bikers, people stereotype anybody, and there's all these stereotypes about women. But then when you actually see it, and you see, like, man, they ride it just like anybody else. Better than some of the guys. I mean, I don't like putting anyone as a woman biker, man biker, right? Mine is like, if you're a biker, they're a biker. If you're a rider, they're a rider. I mean, and that's the big difference too between a motorcycle enthusiast. I can be at a bar and have a conversation about bikes, history. A lot of club members don't know, not generalizing, right? But I mean, I've been to around that. A lot of guys in clubs don't know much about bikes at all. I think more in the past 5 years, I noticed that it's more like the old school guys know a lot of old bikes, parts, and will help you, rent your bike. A lot of the new school, I try to talk bike, and I'm not the greatest. Trust me, I know a little bit about bikes, and I just love learning from these graybeards. And when I try to talk to other guys from other clubs, it was pretty funny. There was a girl who stepped right in and just started talking to me about the bikes, telling me the history of this bike, and the guy was just of his bike, and the guy didn't know anything about the bike itself. He just bought the Harley, and of course, takes it to the shop, but it was, I don't know if it's just like Danny Delo says, it's a dominance thing.
Well, I want to shift another gear here, Tank. What do you think we need to bring back to the lifestyle? And I'm not talking about, this or that. I'm talking about events like the hill climbs that when we were a little younger were happening all the time. They were a weekend event. It was nothing but a big camp out party. A lot of them thrown on by the AMA. And then you have flat track that's finally coming back in popularity. And then, of course, the baggers circuit, they were going to put it on for 1 year. Now they continued it at 3 or 4 years now. What events or what kind of stuff that we're missing from when we came in today that should come back?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned two of the big ones, the hill climbing and the flat track. But there's a big event that goes on in Wisconsin every year called the Mud Run. Are you familiar with the Mud Run?
Oh, yeah.
And that was
actually, I'm not.
really, really cool because
you're not a real biker.
That's what I get for generalizing, damn it.
Damn, guys, come on now. Fucking brings up the Packers and now this, give it a rest, D'Lo, huh? But no, the mud run's pretty cool because you got guys with a lot of the old cafe racers, a lot of the old school bikes. I mean, if you can get rid of that stigma, I mean, everybody wants a new bike. Who wouldn't want a new bike, man? But I love these guys that have those old school Honda CB750 that he's customized out himself. Or
those are cool.
Some guy's taking an old, Yamaha, inline triple and he's chopped it out. Somebody's just got an old school, 72 Sportster and he's riding Goofy Foot. I mean, I'd love to get back to a lot of that old style, like one of the things would be like an event where, you can't have a motorcycle that was made, after 1980. That or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. I've got a friend of mine. The oldest motorcycle he owns, well, the youngest, I should say, is 1978 Shovelhead. But one of the things, riding club that I was with years ago when I first started into this world, they used to do what they called lube-ins, and the lube-in. They called it a lube-in, right? And it's not what you think.
We're not talking about the hand lotion you came back.
No.
I'm picturing midgets already.
And they'd get together in a garage on like one Sunday a month, and they put their bikes up on lift, and they teach each other things on what to do, and the younger guys, and teach them how to change their oil, and teach them how to tune the spokes on an old laced wheel, things like that. I mean, a lot of
Oh
this,
my God, that's a lost art.
it is a lost art. I know how to do it.
Do you?
I
That's
do.
cool.
I do. It's,
Very cool. That's one thing I definitely don't know.
Well, Tank, another good thing that Harley's doing right now, we actually covered, was they're getting together with kids at shop, welding and all that, and they're doing the King of the Harley or whatever contest every year.
That's
pretty
cool. I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, they do. We covered it once.
Man, I don't hear nothing.
Because you're in a hole,
the world,
you gotta
buddy.
get there.
living in that Lake Geneva tourist
You and
area,
Toes.
man.
You and Toes.
Oh God, that's payback, isn't it, Tank?
Yes, sir.
Danny D. Toes.
Now, Tank, you're based out of Wisconsin and up north, by the Ashland area and stuff like that. They got ice track racing.
Oh yeah,
Have you
Yeah.
ever been to something like that?
I have. I've seen it. On a side note, I think his name's Ryan Suchek.
Yep.
He owns the Bargain Bar, world famous
Bargain
Bargain
Bar.
Bar in
Yeah.
in Edgerton. Like, and anybody you're looking for a Harley part, like, just got to go into this basement of this place. And I mean, you'll go in there for one part, and you'll come out with 10 other parts for some other project. You won't find what the hell you went in there for. But
Very true.
You'll find something. And Ryan's got a prosthesis, so he's missing a leg. And this guy gets out there. He holds the world record for pulling the longest wheelie on ice. And every year he goes up on Lake Koshkonong and he breaks that record.
Well, that guy's been all over the world doing tricks on.
He just brought up
crotch
Koshkonong.
rockets.
They got some fishing up there. It's only 7 feet deep, but hey, they got fish up there.
Well, 7 feet of water and 4 feet of muck. But but yeah, I mean, I remember watching Ryan. He was at a bike show we had in Janesville, and he was doing all that trick riding around in the parking lot, and he just kind of bit it and lost it on a turn, and went down on the bike, and his false leg had come off and shot out. So a bunch of us knew that he had a fake leg, and we're like, "Oh my God, his leg ripped off!" And everybody was kind of.
Hey, Carlos, what about what Shaggy said about the lost art of going to get a 12-pack, throwing on some skin, and working in a garage and just telling all kinds of lies that how you did this woman or did that woman, just sitting there and making the original bond that really what brought a lot of bikers together. I believe it might be missing now.
No, I think that's huge. I mean, like my bike. I mean, I love old stuff. As you know, lately, I mean, we got the 1964 Chevy Corvair, a 60 MGA. I got 89. I like old stuff, right? But I got the 2020 Road Glide. But anything I did on it, I tried to do the work myself with my buddy Cowboy. He's more inclined than I am. But just sitting in his garage, wrenching on our bike, taking everything apart, taking our time. I mean, we were there. Anyone else professional would be done in an hour or two. We were there probably like 8 hours, shooting the shit, taking breaks, drinking. And those were the times to remember. Just like a ride with your brothers, the journey, and that's what's taught to me, because I was more about hauling ass, getting somewhere, doing something quick. But it's the journey, not the destination. Same thing like what Tank was saying, just learning little things from somebody in the garage. I mean, you get a connection and a bond that you don't get by just dropping a bike off at a mechanic and picking it up and showing off your toys. It is a lost art.
Tell you what, one of the things I learned from an old school guy who, the same guy, he said the newest motorcycle he owns is a 78 Shovelhead. And he's got 2 sets of O-rings for his bike. And he's got the one on the bike, and then he's got the one that he keeps in the freezer. Because he'll switch back and forth between them, because you put them back in the freezer, and they start to get all stretched out, and they sort of constrict back up again. And that was one of the little tricks I learned. Another one was on your friction plates for your clutch. Some of these old bikes he has, you can't even find the friction plates anymore. And I'm like, well, what are you doing when it starts to get worn out? And he's like, I do this. And he picked it up out of his garage, and he put it down on his garage floor and went, and scrape it all on the garage floor, and then cleaned it off, put it back in the little bin of oil. Said, "Yep, good as new."
Well, Tank, we got, let's see here, Dirtbag Biker, wrenching on your own is missing. I totally agree. And then again, he's been watching on Roku.
Yeah, he interacts a lot with us too on Instagram. Dirtbag Biker does. So hey, thanks, man. Thanks
Rock on.
for watching.
Do you think, Danny, the new technology has kind of broke the back of sitting in the garage, or is that just
Yes, yes, it has. I mean, it it used to be all you needed was wrenches. Now you need a laptop. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's a big difference, and now, you know, that's why I stay away from the new stuff. Like Tank had said earlier, who wouldn't want a new bike? I actually absolutely wouldn't. I refuse it. I could have bought a newer bike, but I bought an '05 Electra Glide that was carbureted because I know I can work on that on the side of the road anytime I need to when I'm broke down. I don't have to have a laptop. I don't have to retune it. When I rebuild the motor, I don't have to do any of that. So yeah, it has taken a lot of that out, and a lot of the old school guys. I mean, myself included. I mean, you know who my mentor is, Hollywood.
Mhm.
My brother Red has taught me everything I know about, motorcycles, and we still practice the old school tradition every now and then. We'll just, accidentally start hanging out in the shop, and he's working on a bike. I'll help him. I'll learn from him. Sometimes he asks me questions now, which is like the best day of my life when he asks me a question. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, holy shit, Red just asked me about that. What? So I mean, I still practice that. We still hang out on Sundays and wrench on bikes, and in the springtime, we kind of we don't call it that. We never planned it, but we still kind of have our own up day. We're changing our oil on our bikes and wiping them down and putting new plugs in and cleaning the carbs and doing that stuff. So I mean, yeah, it definitely the new bikes definitely took a lot of that legacy out of our history, man. Because I mean, you can't work on these new bikes without a laptop. Straight up, like you're
Well,
not going to
there,
add a set of cams and just put them in and go. You know what I mean? You got to hook up your laptop. You got to tune it. You got to do this and that, and it's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
Tank,
But it
before I
can
go,
be.
Carlos, uh, there's a shop on 51, and I think it's important for people to understand just how rare independent shops are now because they don't get it out of their head. You don't have to go to Harley to fix a damn bike.
Right.
But you know which one I'm talking about on 51 over on the right hand side or on the left if you're going into
Right
Beloit?
by that drive-in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Impact.
Impact. He's still doing it. He worked on my bike a couple of times. But you brought up the old 750s, the CB 750s, and they were legendary in the 70s. Actually, you want to see the best looking 750 chopper, man? Just watch Any Which Way You Can with Clint Eastwood, freaking the Black Widow leader, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That's right.
hell yeah.
That's right. They were a clean slate. There's a lot of good aftermarket parts you can still buy for those things too. It's a
And
whole
they were
cottage industry for it.
And they're cheap to build too.
yeah. Wild on 2, what do you think is missing as far as our school system teaching fabrication, teaching welding?
well, when I was growing up, we actually had like shop class. That's how I learned to like change the oil, work on a car, and we actually had little bikes there and stuff. But I mean, labor, is getting a lost art, and they're actually getting paid pretty freaking well. Uh, and I think one of the problems I was going to say, Dan D'Lo, with bikes is the society right now. We work more than we're home. We work more than any other country. We're working like as people are just fascinated about trying to get as much money as they can. That
Mhm.
the time for them to kind of just stop, sit back, and wrench on your own bike, it causes people stress. Like, my bike's down. It's going to be down for a week or so. Instead of thinking, well, now I get some time an hour a day of working on my bike. Someone like me, I ride my bike daily to work, even though I have all those cars. My bike's my daily driver. But I think just people are so stressed and rushing their brains now in this society that we don't take the time just to actually, like they say, smell the roses and do something for ourselves. And if wrenching is a good stress reliever for a lot of people, I think we're just we want things quick. It's the same thing as going to the club, right? People want to get patched quick. We want to get it quick. We don't want to put the work in, but we want it. And then we get mad that we don't get it, but then we don't get mad that we didn't try hard enough. So,
Right. No.
Well,
that is a problem with society now. Everybody's in a rush, and everybody's trying to make $1 million, and they forget that you can make $1 million today, but when you die tomorrow, you didn't die a millionaire. You just plain old freaking died.
Yeah.
So you need to enjoy yourself instead of working your whole life away. You know what I mean? I mean, there's nothing wrong with having goals. You know what I'm saying? We all want goals. We all want better things, but you know, there's something that came to my mind. I'm just going to tell it real quick. So a while back, I was just cruising around one night and I saw a horrific car accident in Milwaukee. And no doubt about it, whoever was driving, they ain't here no more. And when I drove past, I looked over. They had the blanket over the body. The car was just completely mangled. And I was like, damn, man, that's horrible. You know, rest in peace, whoever you are. God bless, right? I went to go do what I was doing. An hour later, I drove past that spot and it was like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think, I'm like, you know, you really only have an hour in life to live. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that guy, he had a nice car, he had a nice house, he had jewelry, he had nice clothes, he had a woman, he might have had a business. He could have been, he worked every day to get a boat, to get a four-wheeler, to get a motorcycle, to get a hot rod, to get a lowrider, whatever it is, right? He did all that shit and it's gone in 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to take none of that with you. So you need to slow your ass down and live your life a little bit instead of just focusing on making that $1 million at the end of the year, you know?
Well, final thoughts. We'll go around with Tank. Your thoughts on what we talked about today, what you got coming up as far as interviews, all that good stuff.
Good conversation. You know, it's nice we keep it down to just the four of us. It makes it a little easier to get in. You know, we're not sitting there like the Brady Bunch, and you're sitting where Alice is.
Hey, I
right
thought about that earlier.
Right. Nothing against you, BD. We love you, man. But it's he does a great job over there. No, it's been really good. We've had a lot of good information, good conversation coming out. And everybody look for it tomorrow. We've got J-Man Rooney. We did a interview with him. J-Man's got his own channel on YouTube, and he kind of does his own thing. He's a pretty cool guy.
He's one of the independent writers. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yep.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, we got a good interview with him coming out. And watch out this next week. I've got some of the stuff with Meg coming out, and I'm going to have a few little vignettes of leading up to the West Coast Florida Riders gig we've got going on. And then look for us at Daytona. We're going to be up there this year.
Nice.
Well, I know everybody on Roku, would you please come over to YouTube if you're watching this? Wild on Twos, go for it.
Well, I mean, for my show, everybody can catch me on Thursdays, and of course, we have this Sunday. I'm really bad about promoting my shows, but just piggybacking off what Dan and D-Lo said. I always say it was from a movie too, and then when you have Shakespeare and Hamlet, the Grim Reaper told Hamlet, "The day that you're born, I started working." So the day that you're born, you're already starting to die. Every day, one step closer. We live on borrowed time. Just enjoy life, save enough just to make sure that you're good. The Egyptians learned the hard way that you can't take it with you because other people are going to steal your shit when you're dead. So, I mean, and that's like what we talk about kids, and just take the time of your time, whatever time you can. And to me, it's worth helping out the children, helping out people that can't help themselves. Trust me, it could always be better, but it can be a lot freaking worse for us. I think we're blessed to be right now doing this. People in the comment section with technology. And so, I mean, each time I think my life is sucking ass, I go, trust me, it can be way worse. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that are, I mean, in horrible positions. And I think it's great that Tank and there's organizations and people helping out the children and anybody from domestic violence. So.
Danny,
I
your final
agree.
thoughts right there, man.
Um, I don't really have any final thoughts. I think I enjoyed the show. We covered a lot of bases. As far as my show, Danny D'Lo Biker TV, um, I don't have a set schedule yet. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of working on that. Hollywood's probably gonna kick me in my culo
Yeah.
and get me and get get me straight here.
Yeah,
Get in
But
line.
I haven't said shit to Ruko either for him, so I got to get on that too.
Well,
uh,
the biggest show we have on Ruko, and I'm actually putting up their newer stuff, is they're really a hit on Roku. So we got to get the newer stuff up on there because we're rotating now on Roku. But one thing I want you guys to know about enjoying life and stuff is think again and send your thoughts out to the BIC on the loss of Pops. I think he really showed what it was to live a life, you know, really showed what it. I only met him once or twice, but just from hearing what Tank had to say about him, go over there and shake the hands of a Vietnam air biker, man, because we're losing them now. We really are.
yeah.
So, anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll be back on, well, we'll be streaming, but Wild on 2 will be doing the mainstream next week with
Buddy.
the interview. Danny needs to get his, culo and gear, getting his stuff on, and make sure you
Do you
guys
have a
really.
laptop yet?
Huh?
Do you have a laptop, Dito?
Nope.
Come on,
Make
man.
sure you guys really
Walmart,
get
$7.
over to
I know. I know.
Biker Lifestyle Podcast because they are really got a great idea, and it's their own niche about showing everything that's going on.
That's awesome what they're doing.
That's a badass thing. And look
Yeah.
for Meg and all that this week because she is hot. I don't know how Tim freaking kept his freaking TP down. Anyway, guys,
Ugly ass, I'll tell you.
we'll talk to you guys later. Great conversation today.
Later
We'll
on.
see you next time. Talk to
Peace
you
out,
later.
man.
Let
Peace.
it tank.